Hello again, everybody. It's Jim Capuano and TJ Troup. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, and welcome to the final podcast in the 2025 calendar year of the College Football Podcast. TJ and I have had a great time putting this together for you. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to this podcast as we wrap up 2025. TJ is a football historian. He's authored 3 books on the game of American football. He coached the game. He played the game. He is a student of the game, and he's a true expert on the psychology, the X's and O's of the game itself while it's happening, and then the pregame work that goes into producing a game plan that players can execute well. TJ, Happy New Year. How we doing?
Happy New Year to everybody out there. I'm looking forward to discussing the 4 featured games today. And during our discussion, you never know who might be quoted in there. It could be Charles Dickens. It could be Shakespeare. In fact, that might be Robert Allen Zimmerman, otherwise known as Bob Dylan. We'll just see where our discussion takes us.
Okay, all right. Maybe Jimi Hendrix. Who knows? But so that's awesome. Great. That's great, TJ. Well, we have. Let's bring up the college football playoff bracket here as we roll into the quarterfinals here. Fascinating slate of games here. We're going to go in chronological order, just at the high level here. Just in order, it'll be Miami and Ohio State at the Cotton Bowl, New Year's Eve, and then an SEC rematch of Ole Miss and Georgia on New Year's Day. That's the nightcap. The early game will be Oregon, Texas Tech. Fascinating matchup of Big 10, Big 12, and then an SEC Big 10 matchup in Alabama and Indiana, and that's also just a great. And when you think about the legacy of these teams, and the pedigree and the new kid on the block, Indiana this year, and Texas Tech, although Indiana made their debut last year in the playoff, it is fascinating to take a look at. TJ, just at a high level, which game of these really jumps out to you as the one that you're going to be sitting there with your smokehouse almonds and Dr. Pepper and not moving an inch until the game's over?
Well, though I'll watch all 4 of them, and we know that Signetti knows that I'm on the Indiana bandwagon, the game that is the most intriguing of the 4 is Oregon versus Texas Tech.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it is super intriguing, and we'll get to there. But what do you say we start in chronological order? So the first game is tomorrow night. The Miami Hurricanes and the Ohio State Buckeyes, defending champion, number 2 ranked Buckeyes, hosting, well, you can say hosting. They're the home team, but it's at the Cotton Bowl Classic, hosting the Hurricanes. You know, this... of the games from a point spread standpoint, this is the one that at least the Vegas line makers are saying is the most lopsided by way of matchups. The Buckeyes laying 9 points to the Hurricanes. This game, let's talk about the Buckeyes first, right? They're defending champs, haven't played in a little while. Miami just played last week. What do you anticipate from Ohio State from a mindset and a game prep standpoint?
Their defense will set the tone in the game from very early on. If you read online, and I'm sure many of us do, everybody is saying, how is Miami going to score? Well, not only is that a valid question, it is the question. Ohio State defense is going to come at Miami in ways they have not seen this year. So this all comes down to, can Miami move the ball, and even more important, score any points? As for Ohio State's offense, the singular player on the field, and I'm going to go to him again because I really think he has a future in the NFL, is Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, does Miami have a defensive back who can remotely stay with this guy? Or are they going to be forced to double cover him? And then, of course, can Ohio State, they can run the ball. You know what I mean? They've got enough weapons, and they are so good defensively. So the number one question is, again, can Miami not only move the ball, can they score points?
Yeah, and the Buckeyes are loaded with talent on both sides of the ball, right? Their center, Carson Heinzman, first team All American. Luke Montgomery, second team All American. You mentioned Jeremiah Smith, absolutely going to be playing on Sundays. First team All American, uh, numerous awards that he's won this year, and he's the Big Ten's Victor Howard Receiver of the Year. And then Julian Sain, a Heisman Trophy finalist, second team All American. And he's a freshman, right? He is a so it's really interesting to see them on the offensive side, but the defensive side, which is your earlier point, how is Miami going to score? Caleb Downs, safety, Jim Thorpe Award. Arvell Reese, linebacker, first team All American. Big Ten's Butkus Fitzgerald, linebacker of the year. Defensive tackle Caden McDonald, first team All American. Defensive lineman of the year in the Big Ten. Caden Curry, first 10 All American, and then third team All American from the AP. So these are different groups that put out All American, On 3, AFCA, Walter Camp, etc. And then Sonny Styles, a linebacker. They're just loaded and in key spots. You talk about winning the perimeter. How do you see Miami trying to win the perimeter on both sides of the ball?
When you draw up the X's and O's, it's pretty easy on the old days, the chalkboard, or now the grease board, where you have guys blocking guys. And then reality comes in. You can draw up all the guys you want doing what we call terminology-wise the reach block on Arvell Reese. And then when it doesn't happen during the game, on the sideline, you have the offensive line coach talking to the young man who's assigned to block Reese and saying, well, why aren't you getting him? And the offensive lineman responding with, I've never faced anyone that gifted athletically or that tough or that quick, something along those lines. So, and it's not, as you mentioned so well, it's not just one of those guys for Ohio State. They're loaded.
Yeah.
So however the X's and O's are drawn up and blocked, let's see that reach fruition.
Okay. All right. Right on. And to me, if you're going to pick one guy on the Buckeyes, right? I mean, I know at the professional level, there's always one guy you got to look out for. And to me, on the defensive side, if I'm the Hurricanes, it's Caleb Downs. Where is number 2? What is he doing? This guy is the only player in the country to start in the 2023, 2024, and 2025 college football playoffs. He started for Alabama back in 23 and helped Ohio State last year, win their national championship. He's a 2-time unanimous All-American, and this year the winner of the Thorpe Award and the Ronnie Lott Impact Trophy. The guy he's the E-man. He does it all. He's everything. So, would you agree that that's the guy, if you're the Hurricanes, scheming on offense to be most aware of on the Buckeyes D?
Absolutely. Watching him play this year, it's wherever the ball is going, by the end of the segment watching on TV, you can expect to see his jersey number come flashing into the screen, or if the play is actually directed at him making the play, making the tackle, or breaking up the pass. Yes, he's another one on that team that very likely will be playing on Sunday.
All right, on. Excellent. All right, well, good luck to the Hurricanes here. It seems like they've got their work cut out for them, but they came through the first round, and their defense throttled the Aggies. So, no disrespect intended for Miami, but to me, this game is all about, how does Ohio State flex, and can Miami solve that defensive puzzle? So we'll see how that goes. But good luck to both teams, and let's move on to the first game on New Year's Day, which is the Orange Bowl, the Capital One Orange Bowl, kicking off at noon Eastern time on New Year's Day, featuring Oregon and Texas Tech, which is the game you said is the most fascinating of the matchups here. Why is that? And let's talk about that a little bit.
Morton, the quarterback for Texas Tech, has really had an outstanding season. I don't think he's been given enough credit for what he's done with the Texas Tech offense. Now, has he attacked some subpar defenses? Yes. Are the Oregon Ducks a subpar defense? Well, the answer to that is a very strong no. They've got a defensive-minded coach. They've got athletes on defense. A lot of this game is going to hinge on Mr. Morton. But then we go to the flip side of the ball. Let's say that Coach Lanning is playing it close to the vest, and they get near midfield and it's fourth down and they're punting the ball back. And now Texas Tech struggles, and they punt the ball back. And Oregon's going, well, we've got to do something offensively. And then you look over at that Texas Tech defense. Their linebacking core, they are so well coached. Their front seven is absolutely tremendous. Now, these schools have only played 3 times, in 91, 92, and then 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, the score was pretty low. So am I anticipating a lower scoring game? The answer is absolutely yes. And now I'm going to put it right back on Oregon. Can Oregon and their so-called offensive weapons attack Texas Tech? And you look at how many points Texas Tech has allowed this year. The Ducks are favored in this game. Okay, it's number 5 against number 4. But I just believe in the Red Raiders this year.
Anything can happen, but to me this is a fascinating matchup, and the Big Ten against the Big 12. Big 12 is they're sitting at the little kids table, right? From a respect standpoint, through a conference point of view.
Absolutely, but they've proven that they can play with the big boys, and they're ready. They'll be ready to do this.
Yep.
But you mentioned the fourth down. As a former coach on the practice field, you know that the Ducks have worked on those situations, those fourth down situations, with their play calling, how they're organizing their game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dan Lanning is a defensive-minded coach, right? He's a defensive coach first, and so I'm sure he's got these guys hyper-focused on that. And I can't wait for this matchup either. It's gonna be really fun. So the Ducks and the Red Raiders. So that's at noon on New Year's Day. The next one up is the Tide, the Crimson Tide of Alabama, going against the Hoosiers, the number 1 ranked Hoosiers. Another really compelling matchup. And Indiana is a prohibitive favorite in here. They are a 7-point favorite against Alabama. I cannot remember the last time the Crimson Tide were a 7-point underdog. If you're Alabama, how are you approaching this game? I mean, you've had rushing troubles the last 2 games, right? Against Georgia, you rushed for -3 yards. Last game, you rushed for, I don't know, like 38 yards. Not a lot in their phenomenal win for them. How are you approaching this if you're Coach DeBoer and the Crimson Tide?
I'm going to relate, and I'll be as brief as possible, a story about my coaching career. I am at Mater Dei. We have the number 1 defense in Orange County. We play the number 2 team in the state that averages 250 yards a game on the ground. We average giving up 52.
Wow.
We won the game on their field, and as relentless as they were running the ball, no one was going to run the ball against my front seven. The next week in the semifinals, when we're playing, we play a team that is very well coached. And I learned later from the quarterback of that team after the game on the practice field the next week, they had splits toe-to-toe, set the backs up the pass block. They had an outstanding wide receiver core, and all they did was throw deep over and over and over again. He knew that they could not run the ball against us. Well, they didn't complete that many, but they completed 3 long ones, and they beat us. So give credit to coaches who don't bang their head against the wall and know they have talent in other areas. That said, can Alabama complete enough passes against a rock-solid but not great Indiana secondary? Because that's what it's going to come down to. They're not going to run the ball against Indiana.
Yeah.
Why would you try? I mean, you can run a draw, you can try and run a sweep. Obviously they're going to attempt it a couple times, but why not line up in a spread offense and have Mr. Simpson just throw that ball all over the field and hope that they can get the chunk plays and score points?
Yeah, I totally get it, and I think what's really interesting about Alabama, to your point, they had 28 yards rushing. I was wrong about that. They had 28 yards rushing in their win over Oklahoma, 28 yards, and then in the SEC championship against Georgia, which they lost, they had -3 yards rushing. And Indiana is the number 3 rushing defense in the country. So, Oklahoma was number 2. They got 28 yards against them. Georgia was number 4 in rushing defense. They had -3. Now they're against the one that's sandwiched right between there, the number 3 rushing defense. Yeah, if you're Coach DeBoer, you've got to try, though. You can't just say, we can't run against these guys, right? You have to establish the run, don't you? You have to at least attempt to take the pressure off of Ty Simpson, don't you?
Well, we can almost go the other way. You can have the pass set up the run. Let's say they hit a slant on first down for 7 yards. Okay, it's 2nd and 3. Can you run the ball then? Absolutely. But they cannot be going the other direction where they run on 1st and 2nd down and gain 1 yard, and they're consistently in 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9. They're going to get beat if they do that. And, I mean, we're talking about a very intelligent head coach at Alabama. He is not going to bang his head against the wall. And even more important, let's say Indiana gets out to an early lead. Now that even changes it even more. It's going to be, we've got to throw. So I wonder what Bear Bryant is thinking about the days of throwing. Not that he didn't have good quarterbacks at Alabama. He had a couple of guys named Namath and Stabler. He had a couple of guys who could actually throw, but they ran the ball in those days too.
Yeah.
So, and of course, I'm not saying anything about the Indiana offense. How about Alabama on defense? You're facing a young man who has risen to every occasion in making the clutch pass when they need it the most. So this, to me, it all comes down to Alabama throwing the ball, because you don't want to keep giving the ball to Mendoza behind in the game, and with their balanced offense where they get to mix and match and do what they've done all year. So to me, this game hinges completely on the pass offense of Alabama.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. One thing that I think is largely overlooked is Coach Kalen DeBoer, though, for the Tide. He ranks 2nd in active FBS coaches in wins over ranked teams since 2021. Kirby Smart, number 1 with 26 wins. DeBoer with Alabama, and then previously with Washington, of course, with 20. Next up is Marcus Freeman at 16. So he knows how to get it done, and shockingly, amazingly, with the long history of these two teams, this is the first time that the Crimson Tide and the Hoosiers will be facing off against each other, and what a time to do it, right, TJ?
Absolutely. You look at the pedigree and the history And for those people that follow that, I mean, how many of those years Alabama was fighting to be the number one team in the nation, and Indiana was fighting not to finish in the cellar in the Big Ten? So this is new territory for Indiana.
Yeah, this whole season's new
they're
territory. The only unbeaten team standing, everything.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And Signetti, I mean, when they got beat last year by Notre Dame, oh my gosh, did all the naysayers jump on this? He does not want to hear that again. So, he can't take that the next step without this one.
Right. You're right. Yeah, it's fascinating to me. And just a little quick tale of the tape. Total offense, Hoosiers ranked 8th, Bama 74th. Rushing offense, Hoosiers 10th, Bama 118th. So the rushing futility is not something new. That's been a long, season-long nemesis of them. Passing yards gained, Alabama can throw the ball. They're ranked 23rd, whereas the Hoosiers are 45th. So pretty significant difference there. Scoring offense, Hoosiers 3rd, Bama 38th. Total defense, Hoosiers 4th, Bama 13th. Rushing defense, Hoosiers 3rd. We already mentioned that. Bama 30th. Passing yards allowed, Hoosiers 18th, Bama 10th. So passing may be difficult. But all that stuff aside, scoring defense, it's not that big of a difference. Scoring defense, Hoosiers 2nd, Bama 13th. So they bend but don't necessarily break, and they do have 3 losses, but it's a hell of an interesting matchup. And whereas before we talked about 4th down conversions in the other game, the Ducks game, this one leans towards Bama. Bama is 22nd in 4th down conversion percentage, and the Hoosiers exactly 50% and rank 90th. So we'll see. It's going to be a fun game. 7 points is a lot. And Vegas, laying 7 points. They're saying something with that spread, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right, last game, rematch, Ole Miss, Georgia. We've seen this before. What are you thinking about in this game?
Can Kirby Smart and Georgia continue to do what they do best? Beginning, middle, end of where this game begins and ends. Ole Miss, I think we're way past Lane Kiffin.
Oh yeah.
We're now down to the young men on the field for Ole Miss that have moved the ball well. They have athletes. They have a good offense. Okay, here's your time. Show that it's you, and it was not the coach's play calling. So there's a motivation there for Ole Miss that I really like. I really like that point of view from the coach, and I'm sure they've driven that home. Show what you can do. But at the same time, as we've discussed in more than one of our shows this year, Kirby Smart is as consistent as the sun coming up and the sun going down. He is not going to change who he is. And when you look at the success he has had over the past decade, why would he?
I agree. Yeah, you know what you're going to get with the Bulldogs. And, that last game they played, which was a barn burner back in October, that was a home game for the Bulldogs, and they did win 43-35. What do you think, if you're Ole Miss, you take from that game?
Well, during the first half of that game, and we discussed it back when it happened, is Mississippi just kept going down the field scoring. And the question was, and the announcers even mentioned it once, how many times is Mississippi going to be able to do this before they get stopped? Well, as soon as they stopped, and Mississippi's defense is not all that strong, Georgia physically took the game in the second half. Now, they may not have won by a lot, but they did control the game late in the game.
Right.
And that's a Kirby Smart formula. So he doesn't want to have to go to that. Ask a coach if he wouldn't rather be ahead 21-0 at the end of the first quarter or be tied 7-7. Ask him which he would rather want. But that doesn't seem to happen to Georgia a whole lot this year. But they get it done in the second half.
Yep. Yeah. And Pete Golding, new coach of Ole Miss, did a good job in that first game. Those boys are ready to play. 41-10 win over Tulane, another rematch. But
and he'll have them ready again. Why would they not be ready?
Of course.
Everything points to a lot of motivation for Ole Miss.
Yeah, it does. It'll be very interesting. I'm looking forward to this game. You got a prediction on this game, TJ? Hate to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna.
Well, again, as I mentioned before, betting against Georgia, it's like for you poker players out there, it's trying to draw the card to fill the inside straight. Well, yeah, you can try, but I'd much rather have 3 aces sitting in my hand and play the pat hand, which Georgia does.
Yeah. He ain't sexy, but he gets it done, Kirby. So,
amen.
Yeah, that's all that matters, getting the W. All right. Well, thank you, TJ. That was awesome. We're also rolling into near playoff time in the NFL. Lots of stuff has happened. Let's get your thoughts real quick on what's happening in the NFL and your cuddly Bears showing a lot of moxie, and they've got the NFC North title. It's theirs. So that was a surprise. I remember at the beginning of the year, one of the people that you read online had mentioned that the Bears, he predicted the Bears to win the title, and you were saying, I don't see how that can happen. Not to have you eat crow, but everybody felt that way, I think.
Oh, no, I've got it right next to the smokehouse orange. It's a nice big dish of crow, and Adam Rank can serve it to me. He was right. If he was in the room with me right now, I'd hand him a cup of coffee and tell him he was right.
Yeah, that was a ballsy pick. I mean, that was a stepping out there. Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Well, especially when you look at the record of the other 3 teams in the division last year.
Yeah.
But as for this week and where I'm at, today when I write at the Journal is a real challenge for one of the strangest reasons, and fortunately I have these happen to me occasionally. I've got so much good stuff to write about. There are some statistical anomalies that I can go to, and then we have, as something that my departed friend Steve Sable and myself discussed, how difficult the last game of the season is for so many of these teams that are not playing for anything. How many fans are going to be in the Meadowlands to watch Dallas at the Giants?
That's a good question. I wouldn't go.
Then we've got the 3 signature games. Okay, we know how TV is. We've got 2 of them Saturday. Mm-hmm. Well, no one predicted that Tampa Bay would have to win and beat Carolina to win the division. No one saw that coming.
Yeah.
So give Coach Canales all the credit for what he's done with the Panthers. Does the game have meaning? Of course it is. It's for a division title and a home playoff game. Okay, that's all well and good. So when they face whoever's going to be the wild card team that comes to play them, saddle up. Then we have the nightcap, which everyone is looking forward to. You had mentioned it earlier, Jim. I'm not sure anyone would turn to Coach McDonald and the Seahawks and say, boy, you guys are sexy how you play football.
Yeah.
I don't think Coach McDonald cares.
Right.
You look at their record. And how they play defense and how they are in every game, and they run. They've got a real strong balance of between running and passing. Then we have an absolutely stellar coaching job by one of my favorite coaches in Kyle Shanahan. What he's done with the injuries. Now, is he doing it by himself? Of course not. But they have overcome every injury. He's got a superb defensive coordinator. And look at what the Niners did against the Bears. Offensively, in that game, it was a fascinating game to watch. And the defensive play call by Saleh on the last play of the game, when you watch it on film, it was brilliant. So the 49ers have already beaten Seattle. Can they do it again to win the division?
Yeah.
And then, of course, I can talk about the Rams. We're talking about the best third-place team in football, and 3 weeks ago, people were anointing them as Super Bowl champions.
Right.
Now they're a third-place team. So we have pretty much got the matches. Then, of course, the final game, which could become a train wreck, is the Ravens going to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to play their longtime rivals, the Steelers, on Sunday Night Football, winner take all. And that discussion could go hours, but the bottom line is this. Will Pittsburgh be able to throw the ball effectively, and will the Ravens be able to play pass defense for the first time this year? I mean, there's so many different ways to go.
Well, with no DK
with
Metcalf in that game, it's really interesting because the Steelers just were, without Metcalf, missing a couple linemen, they were embarrassingly bad offensively against, the Browns are the number 2 defense, fine. But, geez, oh, man, that was a game.
Your point is well taken, and we can always second-guess the play calling of Pittsburgh. But let's give the Browns – I'm going to go there again briefly because this is something that has always stayed with me. The Cleveland Browns have not won many games, but they were bound and determined to show Pittsburgh that they are warriors. And look at the game they brought and gave Pittsburgh on Sunday. Not just the score, but the physicality and how hard they played. And then we go, and this is one of my stats at the Journal, though I'm going to go there. At one point in the rivalry between the Jets and the Patriots, the Jets actually led the Patriots 51 victories to 49 losses and 1 tie. Since then,
wow,
the embarrassing, inept New York Jets have won 4 and lost 26 against New England.
Wow. That's worse than the Bears stretch against the Packers.
I don't know how people in New York aren't asking the fateful questions. Have the Jets quit on this coach, and why are they not being professional and man up? Not only did they not play hard, they were embarrassed on Sunday. So the Browns, opposite ends of the spectrum. The Browns don't have any victories this year, and they're not going anywhere, and they played like warriors. And then we have the embarrassing New York Jets and the lack of what do I want to say, physicality, the lack of just playing the way you're a professional. Where's the attitude? So those type of things I could go hours on, and I've addressed that here. So we have some games this weekend that have no meaning, and then we have a handful of others that really do have meaning.
Yeah, it's interesting, and then we can wrap it here. But looking at the NFL, right, you mentioned Coach McDonald for Seattle, defensive coordinator, now a head coach. He's got these guys, playing lights out, easily the number one. The reason they're there is because of their defense, Seattle, right? And they've got below average quarterback play in Sam Darnold. Their offense ranks, lower half, but their defense carrying the day. Same thing with the Houston Texans. Mirror images of each other. Defense carrying the day, and offense not so great. C.J. Stroud's been up and down, but there they are, and it's fascinating to see that, and the Eagles, same thing. Their defense rounding into shape, offense up and down, a lot of back and forth. Jalen Hurts didn't even throw a pass in the second half of that game. I mean, that they beat Buffalo. It's 13-12 in Orchard Park. I mean, it's interesting that the old adage, defense wins, it seems for those 3 teams anyway, that's why they're there, right?
Absolutely. And as someone who was once upon a time a defensive coordinator, And I did not even speak to it to my players. But I can look back at the scores. There was many, many times the other team did not score a touchdown. And I thought, well, my offense is good enough to get this done. I would just look at my defense and say, go do what you're coached to do. Shut them boys down. So and I'm
Right.
sure that you hear similar things in Houston, where he's done a magnificent job again. They play with their hair on fire.
They do.
And Seattle, look at how consistent they are defensively. And they are not household names. And Philadelphia, we're talking about the number one defensive coach in the league. And we know I'm a big fan, but it is the discipline and where they are on the field. Josh Allen was looking down the field for places to go. There weren't any because those Eagle defenders know their zones to drop in and when to come out of them and how to attack.
Fascinating. Yeah, and we skipped over the Broncos, again, another team with a upper echelon defense. And their offense, they drop a lot of passes, those guys. But and Bo Nix is, really progressed this year. Still very young, but it's a wide open race, so it's fascinating. Well, TJ, thank you very much. It's been great being with you today. Folks, Happy New Year to you. Thank you for being here with us. TJ, we'll catch up with you next week as we recap the quarterfinals and look forward to the semifinals at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Until then, folks, take care of each other. Be well. Happy New Year. So long for now.